For today, we will discuss forces and motion. In this time, you have thought of the normal movements that we make in our everyday lives, from pushing and pulling objects to making our own locomotive movements such as walking and jumping. This lesson will tackle how these actions are possible through the principles of forces and motion.
The push and pull mechanism. In our past grade level, we have learned that there is this thing called the push and the pull of a certain object, which is directly related to energy. We exert our own body strength to move objects such as tables and chairs. Now that you are in the higher grade level, we need to create a more proper definition of what you have learned as push or pull. In physics, this push and pull that we have learned is what we call as force. Object can be acted upon by several forces. As an example, an object may be pushed or pulled in different directions at different times, and the product in which an object moves in response to a certain force is what we define as motion. Also, force can also act upon object at rest. So don't confuse yourself with the presence of the force on both moving and non-moving objects. Force is usually described in different ways depending on the following properties. Number 1. Magnitude. The size and the strength of the force, or how strong or weak it is. Number 2. The direction, or the way in which an object exhibits motion, or where it is going. Examples of forces that are commonly observed and present at everyday life are friction and gravity. Friction is the force that usually slows down moving objects, while the gravity refers to the pulling of all objects toward the Earth's center or core. We can elaborate more on the essence of force by looking at its 4 fundamental classifications to understand how force acts on interacting bodies. The 4 fundamental classification of force. 1. Gravitational force. This is the force of nature or the world itself. It's the force that enables us to stay on the surface because it naturally pulls us down. If you don't have gravity on our Earth, then we would all be flying in places like those of astronauts. 2. Electromagnetic force. It refers to the force of charges. It includes both attraction and the repulsion. Magnets originally exhibits this type of force. If we place both positive ends in contact with one another, a force will be present that will tend to repel each magnet. However, if we try to make contact with a negative and a positive end of a magnet, then the magnets will attract one another. 3. Strong nuclear force. A force that exists between protons, or the positively charged particles, and the neutron, which is the particles with zero charge. And number 4, the weak nuclear force. It is a force that exists between electrons, or the negative charged particles, and other particles outside of an atom. To understand strong and weak nuclear forces, we must remember that strong forces exist within protons and neutrons. Meanwhile, the weak nuclear forces are present within electrons and can exist together with other subatomic particles or other atoms. These forces are a vital part of our daily lives, such as the formation of heat and sensation of pressure.